is up, everybody? This is Wes back with Auto Mafia Racing. Today we have another red V6 in the shop. It is a 3.7 liter Cyclone, and we're putting some brakes on it today. So we're gonna do a how-to of how to install your brake rotors and pads. Now today we're using stuff from R1 Concepts. We have a kit on the website. Starts off at about $200 for blank rotors and some basic like bimetallic pads. And it goes up to about $300 for your cross-drilled and slotted rotors with some nice ceramic pads and stuff like that. So a lot of options. Check it out on the website, but we're gonna go ahead and get it installed. So pretty simple, everything looks pretty good. Obviously we got our rears, there's little tiny pads because little tiny brakes, little tiny rotors. Got our front pads, look good. They do come with all your new springs and everything you need. These are the bimetallics. And then obviously our front rotors. Now this customer was just looking for a cheap, basically stock replacement, but to get some good stuff. So we went with the original blank rotors, nothing upgraded, no cross drilling, no slots, nothing like that. But it's pretty easy to do. Now this job, you don't have to do on a lift. You can do this job on the ground, no problems whatsoever. First thing to do is to go ahead and remove the wheels. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna remove all 4 wheels on the car, and then we'll come back. So now that we have all the wheels off, I want to remind you guys, make sure you break all your lug nuts loose. Just get them just broken loose. They don't have to be spun even half a turn. Get them broken loose while the car is still on the ground with the e-brake on. Then jack it up and finish taking them off. Obviously, we have a lift, so it wasn't a big deal. We just set it down, loosened them all, brought it back up, then removed them all. So we got all of them off. We're going to go ahead and start in the front here, okay? So this is a 11 to 14. Pretty much the same on 05 to 14. And it's gonna be similar on pretty much any Mustang, but the exact size for some of the stuff is only gonna be good from 05 to 14. So here we go. It's a pretty simple job actually. Like I said, pretty simple job. We're gonna start by removing this top nut right there, excuse me, that top bolt. Now that top bolt is a 15 millimeter. And there's a bottom one right down there. Let me see if you guys can see that. I don't know if you can see that, but right there, there's another one. So that one and this one are coming off. They're both 15s. Once those two come off, that's what holds your caliper on. So this one's nice and painted. What we're gonna do is we're actually gonna zip tie it up. You can use a coat hanger, you can use all sort of stuff, but we use cheap zip ties and we just zip tie it right through there, and we zip tie it usually to the spring up in there. That way this is hanging. After that's off, the rotor will quite literally just pop off. So here now you guys can see, nice and easy, we just went ahead and pulled those 2 bolts out. You can see them there and there. They look like that, not too big, but they're all that holds it on. Once they're out, you literally are just gonna slide that off, and then your rotor is just gonna come off like so. Just put it out of your way. Put some airlift stuff. Yeah, so then you'll have that. Literally, we're just gonna put the new rotor on, and then we'll change the pads. All right, so now that we got the wheels off, we're gonna go ahead and start taking off our caliper. Now, for this one, we are changing the rotor, so we're gonna take off the entire caliper. Now, if you're only doing the pads, all you have to do is take off the main piece of the caliper, and you can leave this bracket bolted on to the strut assembly. So that makes it pretty simple because your all your pads are held right on this thing. But we're gonna take the whole thing off. But we're gonna go ahead and start by taking the upper bolt right here off. That's a 12 millimeter. That's to remove the caliper from the bracket itself. So there's a 12 millimeter here, and then there's one right there. You guys can see that. There's one right here, and then there's that one right there. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that off, which will allow this piece to come off, and we'll show you from there. So we actually went ahead and we got both those bolts out, top and bottom. So I'm gonna just pull that off. I need both hands to do it, but this is what the bolt looks like, little 12 millimeter top and bottom. Put it there so we save it for later, and I'm gonna pull that off. So I just needed both hands, but basically you just have to just pry it out like so. And most people are gonna whine and complain if you leave that sitting. We're just gonna let it hang for just a second, where you can tap it up there, trap it in some way. I like to hang it with zip ties, so we'll put some zip ties on it and hook it to there. No big deal. So now we have our actual brake pads themselves. These will literally just pop out like so, front and the back side will pop out. But we're changing the rotor, so we also have to take out the 15mm bolts. There's one here, one right there, and there's one down here at the bottom as well, if you guys can see that. Once we take those off, this bracket will come off as well, and we can install our new pads into the bracket. All right, so here we have that bracket out, okay? That sits in the wheel, like so, actually goes that way. Sits in just like that, all right? So our brake pads, they literally just go in by kind of dropping them in like that and giving them a twist, and that's how you get that top one in. Now these are the old ones. We want to put our new ones in, but I like putting them in on the car better. So we're gonna pull off this. So, oh, we got a little keeper. See that? So that will hold it on sometimes. You can pry that off, pick those out with the screwdriver, or just give it a good yank. I'm gonna pull it off, but again, I need both hands. So there we go, we got that off. So now you can see what everything looks like. You can go ahead and check your wheel bearings at this time, make sure nothing wiggles while you're under here. But now we're just gonna go ahead and put our new rotor. We're gonna slap it right on. So there we go, new rotor is on. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put our bracket back on. That bracket is going to allow us to start bolting everything back up. So there we go, new shiny rotor. Bracket's gonna go back on with those 15mm bolts in the back. Almost done. So now we can actually go ahead and see what we're working with here. Trade hands. So these are really simple actually. The springs hold everything on. So you just shove it in there basically, and then there we go. Now some of the powder coating, it's gonna come off, guys, there's no way around it, but that's literally all you do. It just shoves in like that. Now you're probably not gonna be able to see the back side, but I'm gonna do the exact same thing with the back side, just like this. We're just gonna shove it directly on the back. There we go, actually, there. So they're both on. Got the keepers on. So now what we have to do is we're gonna compress that down. I'm literally just gonna use a clamp, compress that down, and then these will fit right back over there, and we can bolt it back up. So I'm gonna compress this down and we'll stick her back on. So this is literally all I'm using. I'm gonna grab both sides at once, clamp them down, tighten it, undo it, tighten it, undo it, till I got them both compressed down and they slide on easily. So you guys can see now, nice and compressed in there. It should, keyword should, it's definitely harder with one hand. We should get it to slide back on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use two hands with this. Gotta make sure you line up the top and the bottom, but it'll slide back on now. So there we go, just needed one hand to hold it and the other one to give it a couple taps on. Nice and easy, everything's back on. We're gonna put those two little bolts, these two little 12 millimeters back in the top there, and one at the bottom. This one, and then this one will be good to go. All right guys, so that's pretty much it. We went ahead and tightened that, it's done. Once all those bolts are tight, we're basically done except for the following. All we're gonna do is we're gonna spray brake cleaner onto the rotor. We're gonna spin it, make sure we get both the outside and the inside of it clean with a clean rag, and then brake clean. That way none of the junk from our hands or our gloves gets on the rotor and causes a hot spot. After we do that, we're just gonna go ahead and stick back on the wheels and put all of our lug nuts back on, and then we're gonna do the rear. All right, we got this wheel back on. This one is completely done. It's all nice and clean, looking good. Remember guys, every time you put lugs on, do the star pattern. So here, across, down to there, back over there, back over there, back. And then you can go around making sure they're all tight and done. Once it's on the ground, that's it for the fronts. We're gonna put the other side on, then we're gonna start with the back. All right guys, so we're gonna use a 13mm this time, and we're gonna repeat the process on the back. So the top bolt right there, and that bolt right there. I don't know if you guys can see it, I know it's dark, I'm sorry, but that's the bolt right there. Once that is out, and that one is out, using our 13mm top and bottom, once again we can pull the caliper piece itself off, and that will disengage from the pads Then we'll pull the bracket off, and that way we can go ahead and pull the rear rotor off. So we're gonna go ahead and get that bracket off, get the caliper off, and we'll check back in with the size for the bracket. So with the caliper off and out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and take the bracket off. That's using the same 15 millimeter with a big bolt right there and one right there. So we're gonna take that off so that our bracket can come off. Then we can put our new rotor on, and we'll put the bracket right back on. So there we go, bracket is off. We can remove our old rotor. Don't need that anymore. And we can throw a nice shiny one on. Before we do that, I'm gonna show you guys the bracket. So that's obviously our bracket. What you have to be careful of are these things. Now, you see that special shape? That actually conforms like so. Meaning it fits it just how it looks. You guys can see that just like that. See how that is exactly like that with the step? That's how it goes on. I see people all the time having these like up there or like flipped around, and I don't even know how. I don't know how you can do that, but I've seen several people send me pictures of, hey, my brakes won't go on, blah, 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 where's this go? So that part's important. That's your slide. That's what actually helps let the pads move back and forth smoothly. So remember that part. We're gonna go ahead and throw the new rotor up there now. So rotor is on. We're gonna go ahead and clean this front side and back side, because then I'm only gonna touch the front and I'll only have to clean the front again. So we're gonna spray this, clean it real quick, wipe it off, and then put the main bracket back on. So remember guys, what I told you about these brackets, I made sure that we put the top and the bottom bracket on, and then we're just gonna slide in from this angle the brake pads. It's still super simple. You just gotta make sure that's in the right spot, and there's actually a little catch right there that makes sure it's lined up correctly. So we're gonna squeeze those pretty much in as tight as they go. We're gonna shove the rotor on correctly, pinch these down, and then we can actually put it back on after squeezing the single piston. These are single piston rear down. We'll be able to slide it right back on over that. So I'm gonna do that right now and show you what it looks like when it's done. All right guys, so here is the kicker. This is basically a master brake kit essentially. Now you need this kit because of course it's a Ford, and Ford rear axles you have to screw. So basically we're going to have to find the correct one of these guys, pair it up in one of these, and we're going to have to use that combo to spin this rear caliper back inside, because it has to spin for whatever reason. Ford made it that way. It's got to spin so that we can get it to fit over our pads. So we're gonna put that together, spin it, and then so we can put our rear brakes back on. All right, so I wanted to show you guys what this tool looks like. You can see it's got the big handle. It grabs there and it spins, and it's got those little knobs. Those little knobs right there spin it on in. So I think we got enough room. I'm gonna disassemble it and we can slide it on. So there we go guys. The rear is installed. We got our bolts top and bottom, those 13 millimeters. Those are rehooked back up. So now all we have to do is go ahead and put the wheels and tires back on the car, put our lug nuts back on, making sure that we're doing the star pattern, and then we'll drop it down. We're gonna torque them to 100 foot-pounds, and this car is ready to go. I hope this tutorial really helped you guys. I know sometimes when I'm looking for stuff, even we have to look stuff up sometimes just to make sure, you know, if we haven't ever done it before, get an idea what we're doing before we jump into it. So that's why I make these for you guys. But this is a pretty easy one. You can rent that tool set at AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts for nothing, for free. Basically, you'll pay for it when you bring it back. They give you all your money back. It's awesome. But that's it. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked it. Make sure to check back later for more videos. Make sure to hit that notifications button so you know when we post our next video. We're going to have a turbo dyno car coming up for you here soon. Make that a dyno video of a turbocharged car. Another one coming up soon. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.